Join again ya. Labuan Group Relief, Holding Test PE, dah ada topik dah. Okay, boleh balik.
Doktor lagi detail.
Okay. Okay, in your final exam, there will be, we call it as a modular exam, whereby you are given 2 parts. Alright, the first part 1 and part 2. Alright, I'm not sure because I think that they have rearranged the question. I do not know why. Alright, because the one that I received after the, we call it as a vetting, the numbering is not the one that I have prepared, so I'm not sure how they actually do it. Alright, maybe UTM has a special format, alright, for your final exam, so the number must not be ABC ke macam mana, I don't know, right? But they have actually changed the formatting. Never mind. But it's okay, but I think that the question is still the same, yeah. Okay, part 1 carries 50 marks. We have part 1, we have question 1, question 2, and question 3. Yeah, so total for part 1 is 50 marks. So we have text planning. Tak boleh cakap soalan apa dalam tu kan? Tak boleh cakap. In part 2, we have question 4 and question 5. So total, there are 5 questions. Yeah. Part 2 also carries 50 marks. Okay. Okay, let's go by topic lah. Alright. So which topic you want to look first? Okay, when I look back at the topic, I refer, to be fair, of course, the topics must be covered in the presentation. So let's look, for example, the presentation. Oh, ya. Kena share sekejap. Okay. So for example, topic on group relief, yeah. So let's look at the group relief. I think it was presented by Wong, Kavita, and Sangavi. All right. When I look into the content of this, all right, everything is there. All right. Whatever I ask is there. Okay. You must know what is a group relief. All right. What are the conditions for you to apply group relief, and then what do you mean by related companies, and then they give you a lot of examples. I think that this one, based on the public ruling, I think, yeah, most of the example is clear, right? And then what else we have? Define, because we say that, all right, in order, we have 2 types of companies here when talk about group relief. One is the surrendering company, the other one is the claiming company, yeah. So the claiming company, the surrendering, the company that is in a loss position. So you have loss, and then you can transfer 70% of the loss to another related company. So the company that is claiming the losses is what we call claimant company. So this claimant company must be in a having a defined aggregate income. Yeah, means that in order for you to absorb loss, you must have income lah, in order to absorb. So the income must be in the form of defined aggregate income. So what is a defined aggregate income? Then you look back at the formula. It means that not only you may be given a scenario, right? So we're talking about companies, means that it could be several companies. So for example, if you look at the example in the presentation, you have alpha, beta, and delta. Yeah, so this one I think from the textbook, right? So you have to compute the defined aggregate, right? Define aggregate income, and then decide how are you going to allocate the losses, all right, to the claimant company. Yeah, so then means that you must know the format to compute your chargeable income, right? And remember that you have your aggregate income, then you have to compute the defined aggregate income. So the another term that is used here under group relief, which is defined aggregate income. And again, when you look into defined aggregate income, it is your aggregate income minus current year loss. So it means that current year loss comes from your business income, yeah. And then don't normally have the qualifying prospecting expenditure, qualifying pre-operational business expenditure. We don't have that, right? But we do have your approved donation. Yeah, so this has to be deducted first in arriving to your defined aggregate income. So once you have your defined aggregate income, then only you minus your current loss. Yeah, so means that where you have your loss surrendered. So which company that give out the losses, or which company that actually receiving the losses. So then at the end of the day, because of the losses that claimed by the companies, then you have a lower chargeable income, right? So you have to decide, in order for companies to claim, then you must first fulfill the conditions. All right, and normally I think that the conditions is related companies, isn't it? Mechanism is this, where is it? So tengok, saya ni, mana dia? Mechanism, company must be resident, must be related companies throughout that year and 12-month period prior to that YA, paid up capital of more than 2.5. So means that it's not applicable for small, medium enterprise. Yeah, the paid up capital must be at least 2.5 million at the beginning of the YA, having common 12-month period and make an irrevocable election. So means that once you have decided you want to involve in the group relief, all right, whether as a claimant or as a surrendering company, it has to be clearly mentioned in your income tax return form C. Right, once you say that you want to claim, you cannot revoke. Yeah, and then all companies must be subject to 24%, and the claimant company has defined aggregate income. And remember that the other additional requirement, I think that for you to utilize this group relief, you are not supposed to be on other tax incentive. For example, if you're under pioneer status, if you're under investment tax allowance, reinvestment allowance, all these things is the incentive given. So if you want to absorb this, all right, one of the tax incentive here, you can, is a mutually exclusive. You cannot have everything. Yeah. So if a company is already under other incentive, then they cannot join. All right, they cannot participate in this group relief program or planning. Yeah. So the then the company, what do you mean by related companies? All these things. Yeah. So what you know that you can, you have to do computation, for example, but make sure that companies is eligible, all right, in order to involve in the group relief strategy. Yeah. So and then what else do we have here? Computation, commencement of business, transitional period. All right. So I don't think I have this surrendering companies, but personally, alright, I pun confused benda ni. Kenapa lah the government make, they want it to be complex so that people do not manipulate, but it turns out that it's very confusing. Yeah, 2019, 2020. Okay, modalnya. Okay. And then the period here, claimant company, anti-avoidance, mutual. See, this is why we say that it's a mutually. If you are already under all this, all right, you are not supposed to enjoy further tax relief lah. Yeah, right. Okay, question on tax relief. I think that all that has been covered for your final exam. Any question on group relief? Tak ada ya?
I think okay, Doctor.
Okay, I think this is the highest marks lah of all the 5 questions. Okay, right. Then we go to the next topic, which is withholding tax code. PowerPoint, mana? Group project. Is it? Group presentation kan? Dah, Gabra. Where is your withholding tax? Okay. Withholding tax, we have about 16 marks. Okay. Amira, Shafika, Raisha, Nova, right? Okay. Okay. Before that, I think that I have. Yeah. It's not. I think. I may be using some of your slides in my future lecture, right? The one that I think that is very good, right? So especially, building technical, I think that I will be using this, alright? So I nak minta you all punya consent that I'll be using some of your slides, alright, for my future lectures. And of course, I will not change that. Of course, I will have to mention your name, right, during the class lah, as a credit, yeah. So withholding tax, remember that is apa nama dia is a law that requires withhold of tax by the payer before payment to the non-resident person, right? And this is where we say that I always draw this also actually in class, where you make payment 90% to the non-resident, assuming that the withholding tax rate is 10%. So the 10% here that you should pay to RIB, yeah? So the compliance here is that number one is that you have to withhold tax at the specific rate. Then whatever that you withhold, you have to pay to RB within 30 days from the date of credit or payment. Itu aja, yeah. So scope dia, alright. You know that it's not all payments made to non-resident is subject to withholding tax. Only those income which is subject to this section 4A, 15, all these things lah, yeah. Okay, and the rate, you should know what is the rate, for example. And then contract payment is special because they are 10 plus 3%, right? 10% is on the contract, 3% is on the employees of the contractors. Okay, responsibility is stated here, right? You have to, within 1 month, pay credit such payment to RB. Okay, so these are the details of the income derived. So you have to look at the derivation. It's important because if income, you know that, okay, this is the income which is subject to withholding tax, but if this income is not derived by the person, right, derived in Malaysia. So what do you mean by derived? It means that the income paid to the person. Right? In this case, this is confusing because to the company that make the payment, for example, we're talking about royalty payment, yeah? Company A make royalty payment to company B. Company B is a non-resident person. To company A, the payment is an expense. To company B, the payment received is an income. So the one that kena bayar tax is actually company B sebab dia receive income which is subject to tax, alright? But you have to check whether the income here, alright, even though it's subject, it's fall under that category royalty, but is the income derived in Malaysia? So kalau nak tengok derive in Malaysia, you kena tengok balik lah payer dia siapa. Is the payer government or state government or local authority of Malaysia? Yes, then derive. If not, then you tengok payer ni company, is it a resident of Malaysia? Resident kena tengok balik lah whether individu or the payer ni could be individu, the payer could be a company. Alright, so kalau resident, individu, then derive in Malaysia. Or the company is a resident in Malaysia, yeah, so it's derived. Or katalah company pun, it could be a non-resident company, make payment, but this company, alright, the royalty is charged is as an expense. Dalam dia punya statement of comprehensive income, ada royalty expense, alright, deducted in arriving to the profit before tax. So once you have that, then you know that the income of the non-resident person is derived in Malaysia. So once you say, okay, income campur derived in Malaysia, then this payer must withhold tax. Itu je cerita dia, ya. So that's why. But the derivation of income ni untuk royalty, apa lagi? Royalty dia sama. Alright, special classes of income, interest, royalty, contract payment, public entity sama. Yang tak samanya is, interest dia lain sikit. Ya, the derivation of income for interest. Mana interest? Income, royalty, deduction, withholding, interest. Sebab interest dia lain sikit. Why? Because dia, number one, dia sama. Alright, the payer tu is either government, state or local authority, or Alright, okay, yang kedua ni dia kata payment is made by a resident person and so dia ada another qualifier. Yeah, not only person is a resident company or resident person, but the money borrowed, right? We're talking about you pay interest because you borrow money from company B. Yeah, so in this case, you're saying that company A borrow money from company B. Company B is a non-resident person. On the borrowed money, company A has to pay interest to company B. So the interest here we are referring that, then you say whether the interest that you pay to company B, whether to company B is the interest income received derived in Malaysia or not, depends. Number one is that you're looking at, okay, payer is a resident, yes. But how is the money borrowed is used by the person, right? Means that kalau the money borrowed is used for business purpose, right? Either for working capital or you use the money borrowed for an asset which is used in the production of income in Malaysia, all right? Or for the company to pay debts, all right? So all these things will make the interest income received by the person here, company B, for the income to be derived in Malaysia, right? So the second part we're talking about how the money borrowed is used by the payer will also determine whether income is derived in Malaysia by company B who is a non-resident person. If you don't have that, then dia ada nombor 3, dia kata is it charged as an outgoing or expense, yeah? So you have to look into all this 1, 2, 3 to decide whether the income is derived in Malaysia. Okay, all right. And then we're talking about the other important part is on the enforcement and penalty. All right. So what is it? What do you mean by when you say that non-compliance? I mentioned earlier, compliance tu maksudnya apa? Compliance maknanya bila you have to withhold tax at the prescribed rate. Within 30 days, you have to pay to RAB, right? And then kalau you fail to do that, then dia akan penalize. So what are the penalties? Normally, penalty is 10% of the amount due to the government, yeah? 10% of the amount due. So bila you kata penalty, maknanya because you non-comply. Bila non-comply, you kena tengok you non-comply tu kenapa, right? So katalah sekarang ni you punya, let's say that ada example tak? Okay. Melissa. Withholding tax owed is 4,000, right? I think that the amount Melissa mana? Oh ni. Is it? Melissa, a Malaysian resident, paid 40,000 commission to Michael, a non-resident person. And then 40,000 is the amount. Yeah, dia bayar royalty. Okay, now you have to see. Sometimes you are given scenario. Right, given scenario, you have to decide whether withholding tax applicable or not. Yeah. So first you have to see, okay, the payment is a royalty. Is it royalty? Commission. Commission fall under section 4F, not royalty. Yeah. Here is commission. So pay commission and then the amount 40,000. Income derived in Malaysia, yes, because payer is a resident. Cukup lah. Sebab you need commission, ya, bukan interest. Then what else? So what is the amount? Is 10%. So 40,000, 10% is 4,000. So that's why you say that the withholding tax is 10%, 4,000. Amount paid to Michael is the net of withholding tax. So you only pay Michael 36,000. So Michael, upon receiving 36,000, dia tak payah risau dah. Because why? The 36,000 means that tax has been paid on the income. So he's no longer subject to further tax. This one is final. But the issue here, right, Melissa has to pay the 4,000 to RB within one month. But the problem is kalau dia tak bayar within 1 month, so the penalty is on the 10% of the 4,000, not the 40,000, yeah, on the 4,000 because amount due is 4,000. So penalty is on the amount due. So in this case, the penalty is 10% of 4,000 is 400 lah. Yeah. So you have to pay to IB not only 4,000 but also penalty of 400. So total jadi 4,400. So that's how you compute. So another one is that what we call, I macam nampak satu lagi, incorrect returns. Kat mana nampak dia? Penalty for non-compliance tadi satu is non-compliance means that bila you tak pay the withholding tax 10%, then settle lah. Alright, okay. So what happen is that bila for companies, alright, you have to submit your form C. So assuming that now is sekarang ni bulan apa? January. So those company year end 31st December, right? Last 31st December 2020, they're supposed to submit a form C by 31st of July. So 7 months period. So you have to pay 31st July. So what they do is that normally during this period, sekarang ni audit dah start, right? So bila audit dah start sekarang, then they will check whether you have compliant or not, right, with regard to the withholding tax. So katalah they found out, you have not paid your withholding tax to government, so you have to pay now 4,000 plus 10% penalty, right? So then what happen is that kalau you tak comply, right, katalah sekarang ni when you bila you tak comply and then you notice non-compliance issue, then you pay the 4,400 to the Inland Revenue Board before submission of your form C. Yeah, so bila you dah settle the withholding tax problem, withholding tax penalty, you dah bayar, and then before you submit form C, then what happen is that the 40,000 royal commission just now is now deductible expense, right? If you don't pay the 10% and the penalty, the amount due, then the 40,000 is non-allowable. So you have to add back. Yeah, but sekarang because you dah settle benda ni before submission of form C, then the 40,000 is allowable. Right, so bila you submit form C, maknanya you have to provide justification that is allowable because you kena attach together the payment of the withholding tax plus the penalty lah, right? So that is allowable. The problem here with regard to the incorrect returns is that you tak withhold tax, alright? So you have the amount due to the government of 4,400. You kena submit your form C 31st of July, but now you fail. You did not pay the 4,400 to the government. Bila you submit your form C, you tak buat benda ni kan? You tak bayar. You don't pay the 4,400 to the government, but bila you submit your form C, the 40,000 tu you claim that as a deductible expense. Alright? So you claim that no adjustment there. So bila you claim that, so jadilah salah lah. That's why namanya incorrect returns. So the form C that you submitted is incorrect because why? You should add back the 40,000. Kenapa add back? Because you tak fulfill the requirement of the withholding tax, you tak bayar the penalty before submission, the amount should be non-allowable expense. Tapi bila you claim benda tu, maknanya sekarang ni you dah understate you punya income, right? Bezanya sebab apa? Kalau you is non-allowable, you have to add back 40,000. But sekarang ni you tak add back 40,000, so your chargeable income is understate by 40,000. So that 40,000 sekarang ni yang jadi kita panggil apa? Tax under charge. Yeah, the 40,000 is what we call income under charge. Right, so you should pay tax on that 40,000. So bila you buat incorrect returns, the penalty is that not only the 10% remains, but also you have 100% penalty on the tax under charge. Faham tak? Right? So, but do you have example on this incorrect return? Alright, so you have to understand how to compute incorrect returns lah. So you know that now sekarang ni tax under charge is the 40,000. Alright, so the 40,000, the tax under charge on that 40,000 is 24%. 24% of 40,000 is one figure. Berapa? What is 24% of? Salah. 40,000 is the amount times by 0.24. So 9,600. So that is the amount of what we call tax under charge. So the penalty here is 100% of tax under charge. which is 9,600. Right? So you have penalty of 9,600 plus yang tadi 4,000 tak bayar lagi. Right? Plus 410% penalty tadi. So you total campurkan dengan 4,400. So how much you have to pay to government? 14,000. Right? What about the 9,600? 9,600 ke 960 ah? Hold on. 40,000 times 0.24. 9,600 lah Pang. Ya? 24% kan? Jangan betul. I buat apa tadi ya? 40,000 kan? 40,000 times 0.24. Yelah 9,600. 9,600 is the tax under charge. The penalty is 100% of the tax under charge. So penalty here is for the incorrect returns is 9,600 juga. Right? Mana you dapat 9,600 penalty is 100% of the tax under charge. So you kena cari tax under charge dululah. Ya. 9,600 and then plus your 4,400. So you akan dapat amount due to government jadinya 14,000. Betul tak? Mana grup ni yang present? Wong. Wong aja yang kena Is it Wong? Oh salah. Amira, Raisha dengan Nova. Betul tak I kira incorrect returns ni? Mana ke tadi?
Doktor memang kena darab dengan 24%.
Sebab kita sebenarnya yang sebab dia nak kira macam ni. Patutnya you add back 40,000. Right? Bila you add back 40,000, so you punya adjusted income pun akan tambah by 40,000. So you should pay tax on that 40,000. So itu yang nak kira tu, 24% of that amount under charge tu.
Oh, faham.
Kalau you tengok dalam textbook, alright, you akan nampak dia punya computation dia. Right? So please refer to the textbook on the incorrect returns for your withholding tax. Right? So then you have to decide lah how much is the amount due to the government. Okay? Right. Apa lagi? Anything else? Apa I buka tadi tu? Withholding tax, derivation dan okay, dah habis. Okay? What else? Topik apa lagi tinggal? DTA. Double tax agreement ya. Double tax agreement Hanisa, Ashraf dengan Syazatul. I think that in this ada silap sikit kodnya. Tengok Okay. Can you refer to this slide? Alright. So when you want to compute the unilateral or the bilateral, alright, you have to compute, you have to do some computation, right? So number one is that you have to calculate the tax payable for a particular year of assessment. So again, remember that when we do this issue of double tax relief or this, because we compute the income from overseas. So it means that a person having income in Malaysia, dia ada juga income in overseas. Alright, under normal circumstances, the foreign income is exempted. But for a special group of industry, we call it as a visa, banking, insurance, shipping, and airlines. Right, whatever income derived, so whether it's a business income or dividend income, whatever income derived from overseas is taxable. Right, so when we do computation, you must know what is the income from Malaysia and income from overseas. Income from overseas ni all the income, yeah, not only business income but also dividend income, interest income, all that. So now you have two types of income, you combine together, but you must know like which one is the Malaysian income, which one is the overseas income. Right, so Malaysian income you have calculate tax payable. So total of this, right, compute at 24%. Right, And then you have to calculate the Malaysian tax payable. So Malaysian tax payable upon the foreign income based, calculate the Malaysian tax payable upon the foreign income based on the formula. Alright. So Malaysian tax payable tadi dah kira. So let's say lah, alright, total income, you ada contoh kat sini. Okay, kita tengok contoh kat sini. Alright. Marina Air Berhad, Malaysia Resident Company engaged in transportation. Nampak? Bagus slide ni. Dia highlight kenapa company tu transportation. Bila dia transportation, so dia fall into the visa. Banking, insurance, shipping, airlines. Shipping kat mana ni? Air transport. Kena air tu kenalah merah sikit ya. Right? Air transportation. Right? Bila air transport tu dia maknanya dia fall under visa lah. Right, so income dia pada mana? Income statutory business income of 50 million. Lepas tu dividend ada from Malaysia, company listed is single tier 5 and rental from Kenya 600,000. So you ada dua income lah sekarang ni from Malaysia dengan rental from overseas. There's no DTA. Bila no DTA, implication dia you kena pakai unilateral. Right? So tax paid on the Kenya income is 170,000. Calculate tax rate of Marina Berhad. So in this case, remember the method is a credit method, right? So calculate tax payable. Tax payable kenapa 50 million? Okay, yang 5,000 in Malaysia ni kenapa not included? What is the aggregate income here? Why is the 5,000 not included? Dividend from Malaysia. Jawab kat sini ke? Tak ada. Cepatlah. Nak cepat ni. Kau apa dah ni? Why 50,000 is business income? Kenapa 5,000 tak masuk dalam this 50,600 ni? Hello?
Pang kata final.
Sebab dia final. Pang juga. Orang lain tak ada jawab Alright, sebab remember dividend in Malaysia single tier jadi final. Apa maksud final kat sini? Means that tax has been deducted at source. Company bayar dividend, company dah tolak 24% tax. So as a recipient, alright, you don't have to pay additional tax lagi. Alright, tapi kalau it's a company, so it could stop that too, right? So the final. So dia tak payah bayar tax on that. So that's why kita ambil 50 million plus the 600,000. So total income here, aggregate income is 50.6 lah. Susah nak sebut kan? 50.6 lah. Alright. So times kan dengan 24%. Why 24%? That is a Malaysian tax rate. So you dapat 12,144. Okay. So now you want to calculate Malaysian tax payable. Ayat dia apa? Calculate the Malaysian tax payable upon the foreign income. So foreign income berapa? The 600,000 ni lah foreign income. Alright, so you daripada 12,144 ni which is the total ni, you nak tengok kalau nak tengok foreign income je berapa. In other words, alright, kalau you ambil foreign income tadi berapa? 600,000. 600,000 darabkan 24% berapa? 144,000. Sama tak you dapat kat situ? Sama. So in other words, number 2 ni actually you ambil je you punya foreign income darab dengan 24%. So you akan dapat, okay, katalah kalau foreign income ni tax in Malaysia, how much I have to pay? I have to pay 144. Right? Total income is 12144 tax. Tax on all income 12144. Tapi kalau anda ambil foreign income saja, tax rate is 144. So the unilateral now it comes, right? So now you have to compare unilateral. The law says that is half of your foreign tax. How much you pay for the foreign tax? 170,000. Where do you get that information from? Here, the tax paid on the remitted rental income is 170,000. So means that the company has paid 170,000 to Kenya for the rental income received in Kenya. Dia kena bayar kat sana 170,000. But the issue here is now, kita tak nak double tax here. Dia dah bayar 170,000 tapi because there's no DTA between Malaysia and Kenya, kita kena pakai unilateral. So the law says that unilateral is half of 170 which is 85,000. Alright, then you compare. Tadi number 2 you dapat 144, you comparekan dengan number 3 85,000. Whichever lower that is given as a deduction against you punya number 1. Nampak? Alright. So now you have what, so means that rather than you have to pay 12144, right, the tax payable, now your tax payable reduced by 85,000. Why you take the 85,000? Because 85,000 is lower as compared to 600,000 at 24%, number 2, right? So that's why you have to compare number 2, number 3, whichever lower, deduct against number 1. Itu formula dia. Nampak? Alright. Cumanya kalau you pakai bilateral, sama je, alright? You ada business income 50 kat sini and then the, alright, company listed in Bursa Malaysia, this is final. Corporate society is 120,000. Royalty 95,000. Interest from Singapore is 148. Alright, so in your computation, you have to show me clearly lah. What is your business income? What is your dividend income? Your dividend income from cooperative. I think that is exempted, isn't it? Is it exempted? Income from cooperative. So kat sini you ada apa? 550,243. 243 comes from 148 plus 95 kan? So means that the 120 is exempted, isn't it? Nak kena kira balik. 50 is the business income. Dividend from company listed in Malaysia is final. Cooperative society is exempted. And then you have 95 royalty plus interest 148. So you dapat 293. Tak sama lah. Salah. 50,000. Mana lah 50,000 tu? Campur 95. Campur 148. 50 to 40. Okay, betul ya? Betul. Sebab I kira 50 million tu 50 je. It should be 50,000. Right, so banyak sangat nombornya. Okay, so 50 million plus 95,000 plus 148,000. Right, because your dividend listed is final, dividend from corporate society is exempted. So total income or aggregate income is 5243 times by 24%. So you akan dapat 12,058,320. Okay, now kalau nak senang nak ingat how much is the foreign income at Malaysian tax rate. So 148,000 times by 24%. Kalau susah nak ingat formula tu lah. Right? It's 35,520. So now bila bilateral you akan compare how much is tax paid in Singapore. There's a DTA. Tax paid in Singapore berapa yang? Mana dapat 44,400? Ada tak nampak ke?
Slide-nya lari doktor.
Lari I kena buka slide je. Tapi ni PDF kan? I rasa mungkin lah ada mention somewhere kot. The tax paid on the interest income Singapore is 44,400. Okay? Betul tak group? Siapa yang present ni?
Acap, Hanisa, Syah.
Syah. I rasa ni this is the amount paid the tax paid in Singapore. So now because bilateral you tak payah ambil half. Tadi nampak tak? Unilateral you ambil half. But kalau bilateral you tak payah ambil half. So maknanya the comparison whichever is lower tu amount tu besar lagi lah. Which is better lah for the company. So you akan compare 44,400 dengan 35,520 whichever is lower. So you akan ambil 35,520. Right? So that amount deducted against you punya tax payable kat atas tu, then you have the final tax payable lah. Alright. Given as a credit. Alright, whatever bilateral or unilateral is given as a credit against your tax payable. Okay. And then I think that under this topic, another issue is resident status, dual resident tu. Okay, ni di permanent establishment. Right, another issue that you have to look into, you have to, given a scenario, you have to decide whether ada PE ke tak. Right, kalau ada PE, kenapa ada PE? So you have to look at this, they call it as a positive list, negative list lah. Right, and then ada agency kan. Agency ni lalunya kalau you ada normally bila ada, dia tak ada office kat Malaysia for example, dia ada just ada agent je. So agent tu akan ambil order, alright, ambil order. So in this case you act on its behalf and conclude contracts in the name of the enterprise and exercise such authority. So conclude contract ni maknanya you boleh approve the purchase order for example. Alright, so if you have that power, then you have a permanent establishment. So you have to justify lah kenapa you ada PE atau tak ada PE. Implicationnya bila ada PE maknanya you kena bayar tax in Malaysia lah on the income that you receive on that activities. Okay. Berapa ni? 12:47. We already that dah ni dah. Okay, satu lagi pasal apa tajuk evaluate tax. Ya, okay. Muhammad Amir Muzakir, Nurliana dengan Muhammad Haziq. Okay. You have given us, alright, good tax policy and the framework of appropriate tax principle needed to analyze proposal to change tax rules, tax system. Alright, which one is these are things that you have to consider lah. Alright, it means that in order for you to have a good tax system, these are some of the areas that you have to consider. Alright, let's say if talk about equity and fairness. So you kena faham lah. I'm not sure, you have to refer balik ke slide ke presentation. Diorang, apa maksud equity? What is equity and fairness? Convenience of payment tu nampak lah kan, senang nak bayar. Certainty, you know how much is it. Effective tax admin means that cost of collecting should be lower than the cost of the revenue generated. Right?
Equality.
Sorry?
Equality kot doktor.
Equity, okay. Lepas tu dah tambah.
I think it is equality.
Equality sama ke dengan equity? Equality ni, apa maksud equality? You nak cakap apa?
I rasa dia macam sama maksud macam fairness kan?
Cakap kat apa benda maksudnya tu?
Dekat principle 1 tu maksudnya kita nak cakap different citizen must be taxed differently but on the same basis. For example, Malaysia ni guna income kan? Tax based on income range. So lower income range will be taxed lower.
Itu apa? Itu equality ke apa? Is that equity?
Equity and fairness.
Itu fairness.
Dekat situ, yes.
Itu fairness ke equity you nak cakap?
Under the equity and fairness.
Okay, so macam ni nak cakap apa sebenarnya ni?
Nak cakap
maknanya in order it's good that you have the equity and fairness whereby for example in the case of individual tax, lower income tax at lower rate, higher income tax at higher rate. So that is fair lah. Alright, taklah macam corporate tax. Income sikit ke, income banyak, you still have to pay at 24%.
Yes.
Kan? Alright, so you faham equity tu macam tu, fairness tu macam tu. Tapi at the same time, alright, for example, you cakap apa? Convenient, alright, convenient, okay, certain, you know how much it has to pay. Simple maksud apa? Senang nak kira lah. Isn't it? So, what do you mean by simplicity? Is it good to have system that is simple? Oh, sudah. Hello, internet I okey lagi ni.
Doktor cuba buka balik slide tu. Saya dah lupa lah.
Okay.
Simple means?
Simple lah. Tak payahlah susah sangat nak kira. So maknanya patutnya budak yang belajar tax ni patutnya boleh dapat A. Semua orang patut dapat A. Sebab sepatutnya tax tu senang je.
Simple here means the apa ni? The taxpayer can easily understand the law.
Kan? So maknanya not only the taxpayer but also the tax administrator, right, in terms of the tax law tu is not that complicated, kan?
Yes.
Tapi in order to be simple, tadi you cakap pasal equity. Kalau nak simple, senang, everyone should be taxed at the same tax rate lah. Betul tak? Kalau you nak buat
Itu tak fair lah.
tak fair lah pula. Tu macam mana? You nak simple tapi you nak fair juga. So macam mana?
We need to have both. So simple in terms of how they publicly release the law, so everyone can gain can have the accessibility to understand the law. And at the same time, the law is made by fair, with all fairness, you know.
Mana kawan-kawan dia mana ni? Mana kawan-kawan dia? Haziq dengan Nurliana. Tapi okay, alright. So maknanya, of course you cannot have everything lah, alright. Of course you know that okay, to be an ideal policy, to have an ideal tax system, you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But ideal tu maknanya is the best lah. Tapi at one time you cannot have everything, right? So there must be some kind of tolerance lah. You kena kurang kat sana ni, order for you to have everything, right? Sini kena turun, sini kena naik. So that is again based on you punya judgement lah, right? How you want to have that sampai level mana lah, yeah. So but you must know that these are the things that you must have in the tax system, right? You have to try your very best, right, to have these items or considered in developing your tax policy. Itu je lah nak cakap tajuk ni, right? So you kena faham lah maksud transparency, accountable to taxpayer, tax gap tu maksud dia apa? Tax gap tu sekarang ni kita tahu okay, berapa patutnya Malaysian, how much is the income Malaysian, for example, okay, what employment income. Kita tahu how many is actually being employed, how much the income, tapi how much actually pay tax. Right, so kita nak try to minimize lah the actual tax collection and the should be tax collected. Yeah, so that's what we're saying by minimize your tax gap lah. Right, and at the same time, alright, we need to collect tax that have sufficient, because you know that tax revenue ni used for sekarang ni of course lah tak cukup, right? Government revenue memang tak cukup sekarang ni with the COVID, all this thing. So that's why government has to look for other fund. Contohnya kena ambil balik duit daripada dividend daripada all these JLCs, for example Petronas, all that, yeah. So sebab sekarang ni memang in a very difficult situation, right? Orang Petronas tak happy ke, right? So that's how it works lah, right? So there's a balance for that. So katalah macam the government needs revenue sekarang ni, okay, kita increase the tax rate. Tak boleh lah sebab the situation does not allow that, yeah. So kena cari source yang lain. Okay, but the referencing here dia pakai tax policy statement guiding principle of a good tax policy. Evaluating tax proposal, aku tak nak tengok pula benda ni, ya. So tapi tak apa, the content is there for this topic, ya. So okay lah. Okay, next is apa? Tajuk apa lagi? Labuan entity. Osh, takkan nak pergi semua kan? Penat lah, tak ci lah Labuan. Baca je lah Labuan tu. Labuan.
Yang mana tak payah baca, doktor?
Yang mana yang tak payah baca? Semua kena baca. Alright. Pasal tax planning tu, alright, lepas tu kita pasal tax audit kan. Tax audit tu, I suggest you go back because I takkan, of course, I takkan tanya, okay, apa dia tax audit ke benda-benda kan. Soalan dia macam cerita-cerita sikit lah. Alright. So you have to understand kenapa ada tax audit. Right? How this tax audit ni help the self-assessment system? Nampak tak? Apa maksud self-assessment system?
Macam kita kena buat judgement sendiri ke?
Kita kena apa? Buat judgement. Kau jangan buat judgement, Namia. So self-assess maknanya when you have income, you kena kira tax sendirilah. Bak kata Syarafuddin. Ya, kira tax sendiri. In order for you to kira tax sendiri, alright, ada orang check tak sekarang ni bila you submit your income tax? Bila you submit tu tak ada orang kira pun, you nak cakap lah income you zero pun tak apa. It's okay. Boleh cakap sebab kata self-assessment. Letaklah berapa you nak. Right? And whatever you compute kat situ is deemed to be final. Yeah, is deemed to be final. So they will not check all the tax returns submitted by individual or company, but they will do an audit. Right? So bila dia audit tu dia akan tengok lah betul tak yang you declare income ni macam ni, how much is your expenses that you claim. Right? So that's the audit lah. But how does this audit help the self-assessment system? Dia punya soalan tu macam terbalik sikit. Kena tengok balik. How all these, the policy put by the government, alright, will encourage self-assessment system. Will encourage voluntary compliance. Right? Compliance tu maknanya you buat whatever is required by the law lah. Right? We talk about compliance, submission of tax return, declaring of income, claiming of expenses, payment of tax. Itu compliance. So how does this influence or will have an effect on the self-assessment system? Okay. Pang cakap session 107 income estimate of payable. No, Shaheen, no, Shaheen. All that I have covered here is for the 5 questions. Will be considered of this 7. Betul. I'm confused. Sorry lah, buat group reader. Betul lah. Betul. So all these that I have discussed today is all question number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, Shaheen? Okay. Right. So that's all. Habis dah. Any other question? Did you have any revision question about this topic? No. Revision question?
Pasir.
Okay. Pasir susah tau. Advanced tax ni kalau you tengok pasir, dia sebab the topic is a lot. Macam you all presented kan, too many topics. So bila pasir, dia tak akan cover all the topics tu. So pasir tu maybe ada one topic yang masuk. So I akan buat macam ni. Last year I dah tanya soalan ni, okay this year I nak tanya soalan lain pula. So nak kata you akan ada pasir question yang susah. Right, but I suggest that sekarang ni kan banyak online. ACCA you boleh access online dah sekarang ni soalan pasir. Right, look at the professional paper for example. Janganlah tengok semua soalan, you just browse through the question because not all the question is what is tested in your final exam. So just browse through lah. It's just that you want to see how the question is being asked. But good try lah. Right? Good try asking for final exam revision question. Okay. You boleh buat lah. Supaya topik tu you boleh buat soalan sendiri. Right? You boleh buat soalan sendiri and you boleh submit. Maybe I boleh pakai tahun depan. Tahun-tahun yang akan datang, I boleh pakai soalan you all tu lah based on the topic that we have to check. Another tips next time bila you ada topic that you have to present, right? Topic that you have to discuss, right? You can actually prepare a possible question on topics, yeah? So that you can see that, alright, kan biasa you know that, okay, what is for every topic tu, what, when, why, how, semua tu you kena tahu, right? And you can actually come up with your own possible question. Kalau as a lecturer, soalan apa akan tanya pada topik? Move further up. Okay. So now it's already 1 o'clock. Alright. Dah habis dah semua assignment?
Belum doktor.
Oi, bila nak habis?
Uh,
Macam tak